position in Paris. Armstrong now content to let Richard Virenque do all of the pacemaking, and the man who he's doing serious damage to, in fact he was doing serious damage to, because look at this, Jan Ullrich has recovered. He is coming back to the tail of the yellow jersey of Lance Armstrong. This man today from Germany, Phil, is riding on courage.
What we have seen in this year's Tour de France is all of the big names who normally appear to float around the Tour de France. They have all been put under pressure at some time or other. Ullrich suffered on the road to Hautacam. He's clearly suffering on the Jouplan today, but he has pedalled right back to the side of Armstrong. And it shows you, no matter how great a champion you are, it hurts just as much as if you're not.
Under their belt, Armstrong now is maybe going to try and put an end to that. Ullrich has come forward and he is accelerating, but the man who blew up the race today, Marco Pantani, is slipping away from the front.
And look at this, it looks as though Lance Armstrong is now in a little bit of trouble here. Look at that face. This is not the face of the man who has ridden the Tour de France so far. At the bottom of the climb, Armstrong, to me, looked as though he was going to eat the field alive. He doesn't look that way anymore.
Well, there was a double take there. You could just see Jan Ullrich looking over. He is probably somewhat surprised at this performance by Lance Armstrong, because earlier down the slopes he was left behind by the flying Texan, and now the tables have turned. Armstrong now is in difficulty, Phil. This is the first time we've seen any chink in his armour since the start of the Tour de France, and we're going to have to see whether or not Jan Ullrich has got any more power in his legs. I think, in fact, Armstrong has absolutely hit the wall.
Well, you know, every top cyclist has a bad day. It's up to the other riders to find out when and hit him when it hurts most. And it looks as though Ullrich is very surprised by the fact he has distanced Armstrong, because Ullrich himself was in trouble at the start of the climb. He appeared to be talking to Virenque, and he was certainly looking at him.
I don't think they can believe what is happening. Everybody thought this man was superhuman. Everybody thought that he was a man who was unbeatable. But right now, Phil, he is proving that he is immortal like any of us. You know, if you have a bad day in the mountains, you can lose many, many minutes. And Armstrong, for the moment, is going to have to relax, have to be calm, and have to try and make sure he doesn't lose too much time. Roberto Heras now has been joined by Richard Virenque, and in fact the man that they have both left behind is Jan Ullrich.
Well, we never saw the move by Virenque. He just kept the pace going. Ullrich, as far as we know, is still ahead of Lance Armstrong. But now these two are clear here, and they have seen each one of the riders alongside them systematically destroyed. So Virenque and Heras are really as free as birds now. Once over the top of the Jouplan, it's a full-on descent right down to the finishing line in Morzine.
Look at this, the time difference between Ullrich and Armstrong, Phil, is almost 1 minute at the moment. Ullrich himself is very close to the two leaders, Virenque and the man from Kelme, Heras. 28 seconds is the difference between them almost at the summit, but Armstrong is losing big time today. He must not panic. He has to remember at the start of the day he was 7.5 minutes clear.
Well, Virenque goes and takes out the points for the King of the Mountains, and then immediately asks Heras to come through and work. I don't think he's got much of a hope of that right now. Virenque himself is a very, very good descender. And now look at this, Paul. He's over in third place, and he's taking a bike here. He is asking for a bike. Now, is he wanting a new bike? This, in fact, has his race number on, so he must have changed earlier.
Well, there must have been a special plan here for these guys to have a special light bike for a climb here up to the summit of Jouplan. There is Lance Armstrong with Conti, with Trentin, with Botero and Christophe Moreau. But this must be, Phil, one of the worst days he's had so far in the Tour de France. Just getting onto the back there as well, the Seiko rider Daniel Atienza.
Well, he's a fair way down, you know. Virenque, Heras, Ullrich went over 28 seconds behind the two leaders, but then stopped. Now look at the clock here, and Armstrong comes over around about 2:10. Yeah, so 2:10, 2:11. Behind 2:13.
One of the best descenders in the world. Even though he is a much heavier man, he doesn't really seem to negotiate the corners or the descents as well as he should.
But happier days now in the Tour de France. Well, not for Robert Heras, because we've missed it. Our camera was cutting away. We are just on the run into the finish here. That was Heras on the ground at around the 2 kilometre point. Now look at the delay here.
Well, I don't think anybody could have expected that. He came into the corner. That is an unbelievably bad line. Straight into the corner there, straight into the barriers. And he looks as if he's not hurt himself too much, Phil, but you can see the front wheel of that machine is absolutely useless. He has to get a new bike, but this is going to give the chance to Richard Virenque.
He's done it, and he gets the victory in 5.5 hours and salutes the crowd. So he's won Les Ardennes, Cotteret in the Pyrenees. He's now added Morzine to Courchevel in the Alps. And this man here gaining time today on Lance Armstrong. He too, sadly for Heras, has picked him up.
Well, he's picked up Heras, and this man is flying now. He's pulling himself closer and closer to Armstrong. He will have had good morale at seeing Armstrong suffer. He comes across the line, 24 seconds behind Virong. Right on his tail is Heras, but the important thing now there is Botero with him, Christophe Moreau as well. The man in front is Trontin, the Italian rider on Vinny Calderillo. It's already 1.5 minutes, and he hasn't got to the finishing line just yet.
Well, he's still looking at around about a half minute, I think, because it's a fair way into Courchevel here. Armstrong knows that he's going to reduce his overall lead tonight. We don't know yet by about how much, but Botero has hung on to the back of these, and he has had another terrific day of racing for Kelme. He'll keep his lead in that King of the Mountains as well. Trentin has also had an excellent day out. Look at the clock. It's going to hit 2 minutes, I think. As they cross the line, it does. Armstrong will be glad that day is over.
Well, he's going to have to go away from here and try and recuperate, but the day certainly belongs to Richard Virong. This man has been chasing a stage victory in the Tour de France for an awful long time, and you can see the pleasure in his face as he comes across the line.
So there is the stage result. Virong ahead of Ulrich, Heras, Escartine, Belocchi. Armstrong finishing 8th and 2:01 down. That's a big loss for Armstrong. It's about 1.5 minutes plus on Jan Ulrich today. Lance Armstrong really did have a tough time, didn't he? Looking further down here, Christophe Moreau finished 9th in that same group. Marco Pantani in the end losing 13 minutes and 44 seconds, and that was a lot of time for him to lose. He started the attacking too early, it seemed. Strong.
That was, without a doubt, the worst day I've ever had on a bike. We all know what it's, I think most of us know what it's like when you run out of energy and run out of food, and you, in English we say you bonk. I had a lot of emotions. I was hungry, I was lightheaded, I was nervous, I was scared. Things were really bad. I could have lost the Tour de France today. I don't know what Pantani is thinking, but he's just a little shit starter, so that didn't surprise me. I mean, that was actually very good for us. All the guys who had ambitions to win the stage, that was a perfect move for us. I mean, let him sit out there, have a couple teams control the race. They never had more than 1.5 minutes, so it was perfect.
Well, a day Lance Armstrong will certainly remember. Let's have a look at the overall situation. There are changes tonight. Lance Armstrong has his lead cut to 5 minutes 37 seconds over Jan Ulrich, and Josipa Belocchi holds on to 3rd place by just 5 seconds. Christophe Moreau falls to 6th, while Marco Pantani comes in and drops down to 14th overall. David Miller is still holding a good place on his way to Paris. But just take a look at this crash again by Roberto Heras. Inside 2 kilometers to go, overshoots the bend and hits the barriers. He's now in 4th place in the Tour, and I wonder if the 5 seconds he has lost here will cost him a podium place in Paris. On the podium tonight, though, Lance Armstrong. A 7th yellow jersey for him, but what a day of racing it really was.